This is the Fujifilm Instax Mini Evo. It's a 5 megapixel camera with some fun filters, and it prints those photos directly to Fuji Instax paper, and it costs $199. Now, this is the Leica Sofort 2, and it's basically the same thing, but it costs $190 more, or $389. So why would you pay $199 more than the Fuji? This Instax Mini Evo has been out for a little while, and it did get a bit of an upgrade when they added USB-C. This is the black model in USB-C. Some people on the internet have said that only a certain color has USB-C, but I think both the black and the brown models have USB-C if you buy them now. It records to both internal storage or to a micro SD card. There's one in the slot here. Gilbert bought these cameras and let me borrow them, so it's already loaded up. This little flap on the bottom is kind of hard to get at, but you can get to it. The USB-C port is also here, but it seems that they simply upgraded the plug that previously was micro USB, so it doesn't charge on any like fast chargers. You have to use a USB-C to USB-A cable. It has an f2.0 lens, and that's basically it. This is like a little controller to change settings and stuff. Also in the box, I do believe you get a USB-C to USB-A cable. Yes, that's here. And a little neck strap, I believe. Yeah, it's just got these little kind of pull away snaps that I do not trust. And I believe it just has Instax printed on the neck strap. In the Leica, the box is a little bit nicer with this little dust jacket. It doesn't have a hanging tag. That would be very funny to see like a Leica hanging on a Target retail stand. This is basically the only Leica I'd be able to afford. And even then I'm borrowing it. I didn't even buy this for myself. The Leica comes in red, white, and black, I believe. The flap on the bottom also houses the USB-C port and the micro SD card slot. It's still also kind of tricky to get your nail in there and get out. The Leica does come with a lens cap, which is nice. It's magnetic, and it makes it so that the Leica logo is always up, or upside down, but mostly up. This is what they should have done for the Leica Q2. The Leica Q2's lens cap just has the velvet, or yeah, that's what it is, on the inside, and it just kind of holds on with friction, but it eventually wears out. If it had a magnet in it, that'd be really nice. This is a little confusing. Leica uses the Sumar name here. That means it's also an f2.0 lens. I know some people have mistakenly said it's an f2.4 where this is f2. They're both f2. The 2.4 has to do with the millimeter focal length. It is a 2.4 millimeter lens with a tiny sensor. It turns out to being about a 28 millimeter focal length. Pretty nice. And the 1 to 2, I believe, is the magnification. I could be wrong. Now, all the controls are almost exactly the same, despite the plastic on the outside being different. They both have a little control ring here. I think this changes some types of filters, but the ring on the lens also changes some other filters. We've got a shutter button up top. I forget what this little button does. I could look at the manual, but we'll come back to that. And then we have these control buttons on the back, and they both seem to want to be used in this vertical fashion. Up, down, left, right, a directional pad, and a menu button, a back button, a play button, and a function button. And then when you take a picture, it doesn't automatically print, which is nice, because if you had just like one of the Fuji instant cameras, you take the picture, it immediately prints, and you've used one of your 10 shots. You can take pictures with this. It's a digital 5 megapixel JPEG, and then when you definitely know that's the one you want, you pull this little lever, and then that triggers a print. This, even though it clicks, that doesn't actually mean like it's not a mechanical thing, like you're pulling the next piece of film over. The Fuji has a offset tripod mount on the vertical mode, because I guess that makes sense. The buttons are in a vertical orientation, but the Leica has its tripod mount in the bottom, also just slightly offset from the center of the lens, whereas the Fuji is way offset from the center. It's over here. The center of the lens is here. Not a big deal. You're probably going to use it on like a tabletop tripod thing, or a Joby, or a little Manfrotto anyway, so not the end of the world. Also in the Leica box, again, USB-C to USB-A, these appear to be identical. Same cable there, and a strap. Its strap, yeah, it seems to be the same. I would not trust this with a camera of any particular heft, but these are probably light enough that they're not gonna yank off. But I fidget with these and eventually wear them out, so not a good neck strap format for me. Whereas the Fuji one says Instax, the Leica one says Leica, and it's, what is this, debossed, embossed? I think it's debossed, pushed into the, I'm guessing faux leather, probably not real leather. But yeah, looks like these are made at the same place. And yeah, the Leica has a couple of touches physically here that make it nicer than the Fuji, but $190 better? I don't really think so, just from my first impressions here. Let's find out what that button is. That button that I don't know. English isn't first. It's truly a Leica. Oh, here's English after the German. Another weird thing that I heard is that the Leica indicates an f2.0 to f16, but these look basically the same, and I don't actually see any like leaf elements in here to change the aperture. Okay, button number 22. What do you do? It is the effects reset button. So if you swipe through, change a bunch of effects, you can push that button, reset it just back to a clear image. And then of course these only take JPEGs. I believe they do not take RAW photos. So you've gotta nail it in camera here. Oh yeah, what is this button? Is it just another shutter button? I think that's what it is. Button number 4, shutter button. Yes. Yeah, these are both labeled number 4 shutter buttons there. Both the Leica and the Fuji have the little mirror, so if you're taking a selfie, you can see yourself, and that kind of frames up the right, it's got a little bit of a convex bubble, so it should, what you see in the mirror is what the lens should be seeing. Okay, I think these are dead. So let's charge them up and then take them out for a shoot. Let's take some photos. And then Gilbert also provided me some sample photos that I can share with you to see if they're different. Some other people said that they think the color pipeline is different between these two cameras. Did Leica put some secret sauce in here that Fuji didn't? Let's find out after I charge these up. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. So I've given the Leica back to Gilbert because he's traveling right now, and I just got back from San Diego. My whole family went to San Diego to celebrate my mom's birthday, and I took the Fujifilm Instax Evo Mini, or Mini Evo, and when I gave Gilbert the Leica back, he had picked up this little lens cap for the Fuji, and it kind of uses this felt on the inside to grab on to the knurling around the lens, and that's really nice, although I do worry that the velvet or the felt on the inside is going to wear out over time, but buying this and this is still cheaper than the Leica. And I think I've come down to the idea that, like, if I had to only buy one, I'd probably still get the Fuji, not only because it's going to save me some money, but also because of accessories like these. Not only are other people making lens caps, they're also making like filtration. So there's no threads on this lens. I could not put a filter on here if I wanted to. But people are 3D printing pieces that are a lot like this lens cap that attach onto the knurling, and probably, you know, also through friction like this velvet or felt bit, but then have a step-up ring attached to it on the inside as well, so that then you can thread filters like indie filters or color filters or gradiated indies, all kinds of fun stuff, and attach them to the front of the Instax Mini Evo. Now, I haven't seen as many of those options for the Leica Sofort 2. So that's another thing, is like the ecosystem of the accessories is a little more robust for the Fujifilm. All that said, in spending my time with the Leica Sofort 2 and the Instax Mini Evo, neither of them as a camera really impressed me. I would much rather take pictures with my DSLRs or mirrorless cameras and then just simply use these as printers. I do still have my original Instax Share SP2, and I will continue to use this until it dies. And then once it does die, which, you know, will probably happen sooner than later, the battery life already isn't great, and then I have to find a micro USB cable to charge it. It's much nicer to have something that's USB-C along with almost everything else in my life that I need to charge. And yes, the print quality out of the Mini Evo is a little bit better than the SP2, so this is probably what I would replace this with. But I don't enjoy taking pictures with it. The effects are fun. The effects on here, on the lens, when you turn the lens and when you turn this dial are cool, but then they're baked into the JPEGs. It's not shooting raw. And then I find there's a ton of lag from when you press the button and when the picture's actually taken. So like, it's something that I would get used to over time, but I just don't enjoy missing moments with this camera. I can capture the moment much faster, even on my phone, but even compared to my DSLR or mirrorless cameras. Editor Kyle here. I guess I'm always Editor Kyle, but now I'm editing the video. Gilbert's blog post is up, and I have the photo comparisons that he did with the Sofort and the Mini Evo cameras, prints from pictures that the camera took and prints that were sent over from his phone. So first, we have these photos here that were both taken with the respective camera. E1 is the Mini Evo, and the S1 is the Sofort. And yeah, these pictures look exactly alike. Moire from the sharpness chart, which I let Gilbert use at CMAC, basically the same. The chip charts, practically the same. So earlier accounts from other reviewers saying that these cameras might have different image pipelines seems to be not true. Here, these photos are printed from the cameras. This was originally shot on his Alpha 1. This is Selma's Mean Girls when we went and Gilbert took some production photos and I did a promo video. Now, the funny thing is, although the prints look practically identical, the Mini Evo printed it with the tag on the right side and the Sofort printed it with the tag on the left side. So that is a little odd, but in terms of the print and the print quality, it basically looks the same. Here's another photo at CMAC. I want to say this photo, let me check his blog post. This photo was shot on the respective camera, the Mini Evo and the Sofort. Again, the way they kind of can't resolve super fine detail, and also the color looks pretty close, not like significantly different color pipelines for these cameras. All right, these examples are set to auto, so if there is a difference, and there is a difference in exposure, the Instax Mini Evo is a little bit brighter than the Sofort. That's just kind of how they're balancing. But in terms of color, it's not too far off. The green and my sweater, I'm sure if we had pushed the exposure up in the camera before printing, they'd match a little bit closer. But like color-wise, it's really not that different. Same thing, these were taken in the CMAX studio on auto. And yeah, the Evo and E6 is just a little bit brighter than the Sofort, but really the color rendering isn't that far off. They're taking about the same photo and printing about the same photo. These were also auto, and yeah, they're pretty close. There's a little bit difference in like the saturation of the print, but not too different. They're very, very close. There's not too much of a difference. And this 9th example is, again, photos with a chip chart. And I believe these were manually set to the same settings. So the white balance is dialed in. Although this does appear to be handheld, the shadow's just a little bit different, but that also could be, you know, the flash being in a slightly different spot between the two cameras. But yeah, pretty close. And then this last example is a print done from, I think, a photo taken with his Sony cameras, but printed on the Mini Evo, the Sofort, but then also my Instax Share SP2. This is definitely more contrasty, but also somehow also less saturated. So the newer prints from the newer cameras are a bit nicer. So that I will give it to that. Gilbert also let me borrow, but I haven't really printed anything from the Canon Ivy printer. It uses their Z ink or Zero ink. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I'll go read a Wikipedia article about it later, and I'll put that link in the bottom if I can find one. I think the real advantage of the Canon Ivy is that it prints onto sticker paper, which is pretty cool, so you can instantly make stickers. I think otherwise, in every other regard, the print is lower quality than the Fuji Instax prints on the Fuji Instax paper. So I think this kind of puts to rest, like, are you getting different quality images from the Fuji or the Leica? I don't think so. I think the image quality, even at the kind of drastic price difference, is the same. So you're not spending extra money on the Leica for better image quality. Back to your previously scheduled video. So who is this for? Probably someone who doesn't have another camera. This could be your primary camera, sure. It's going to take some getting used to. The menu's a little weirder on the Fuji than on the Leica. Like, why does this call daylight white balance fine white balance instead of daylight? Weird. And the just the amount of lag. So like, unless you're getting people to pose and they don't move and they're not children that are just wiggly and moving all around, then you can get some decent pictures. But yeah, like trying to capture action with this is near impossible. Who should buy the Leica? I guess just people who want to own a Leica product. Like I said, that Leica is probably the only Leica I can afford, short of buying a really old film camera that's probably not in working condition off of eBay. That's the only new Leica I'm going to be able to buy. But if you want to be able to buy more accessories for the camera, the Fuji is probably the way to go. So the Instax Mini Evo is a cool printer and an okay camera. The Leica is exactly the same, but it has less of an ecosystem for accessories, and it costs more for the Leica name. Now, the trade-off is you get a cool lens cap and you get a menu system that is a little more in line with what you would expect for a regular camera system, but that's about it. So again, do I recommend either of these? Not really. Maybe as a printer. If you're going to be taking pictures with your phone or your mirrorless or DSLR camera, then yes, it's a great way to print the Fuji Instax Mini photos. But even while I was recording this video, Gilbert had another contender enter the ring. I don't have time to explain it in this video, so hopefully I can meet up with Gilbert and he can explain what this thing is, because it's very cool and it prints on the even bigger Fuji Instax Square instant film. And sometimes the Square photos, even though they're bigger, are cheaper than the minis because this is the one that everybody is using. Anyway, that's it. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Peace.